Thanks for joining us on a Monday morning. We begin at the southern border. The Department of Homeland Security is remaining cautiously optimistic about migrant crossings in the days after the end of Title 42.
Border officials just released new numbers. They say in the days before Title 42 expired, crossings peaked at 11,000. By Saturday, those officials say the numbers dropped by 50%, with a little more than 4,000 migrant encounters. Still, border cities are facing a crisis. Shelters are already at capacity, and resources, they are being stretched thin. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now with the very latest. Julia, good morning to you. Let's start with those new border crossing numbers, down by half from what we saw in the days before Title 42 ended. So what are Homeland Security officials saying about all this? Are they confident that we've already hit the peak?
I think cautiously optimistic was the right way to put it. We know that before Title 42 lifted, they said there were about 60 to 65,000 migrants that they saw in talking to their Mexican counterparts that were waiting in northern Mexico to cross. But if you think about that, that means the surge could have actually started in the days ahead when we saw nearly 30,000 cross, which leaves about half of that. And those people could be trying to figure out what U.S. immigration policy looks like now. Oftentimes when there's a change in policy, you may have migrants who hear, oh, there's going to be a change, so now is my time to get across because it could be harder later. We never know exactly how those messages are getting out through cartels, through word of mouth. A lot of people are on WhatsApp apps. Of course, DHS tries to plug into that too. It's part of their intelligence analysis. But I really think in this case, it may be that most people crossed before Title 42 because, of course, just because Title 42 lifted did not mean it was a free-for-all. There are actually more restrictive asylum policies put in place after Title 42 lifted that could make many migrants ineligible for asylum if they cross through a country like Mexico and did not previously try to claim asylum and get denied there before. So it may be that things lay low for a while. I'm still told that there could be a rush, particularly of unaccompanied children and families in June. Those are some things they're watching as they look at the numbers. But by and large, that surge we expected after Title 42, and not just the media, but DHS and their own models, this is so far below what they were expecting and what they told Congress they were expecting.
So, Julia, the big concern, of course, a couple things, overcrowding and then also just resources due to that overcrowding. It was such a concern, in fact, that last week a federal judge had blocked what the Biden administration had sort of planned to try to do here, which was alleviate that overcrowding by releasing migrants from Border Patrol, but without court notices or ways to track them. What is the situation like this morning in terms of overcrowding? Do these cities have the resources to sustain operations?
Well, yes, it's interesting. When we first reported on that memo that was going to release migrants without court dates, without the ability to track them, one of these check-in systems they've previously had, they were going to be able to stop using to alleviate overcrowding. Sources told me that this was to avoid death, that it would be such a catastrophic public health emergency inside these places if they couldn't release them because they were going to be so crowded. At this point, even though they can't do that, I'm not hearing that they're that crowded. In fact, most of them were cleared out in advance of Title 42 because they were expecting that wave. So they did a lot of releases in cities like El Paso, where I just returned from, in the days and weeks ahead of Title 42. That's when you saw the most migrants sleeping on the street, was actually the week before. When I first landed in El Paso, I was outside Sacred Heart Church. There were probably 100. As the week went on, there were fewer and fewer. So that means there are fewer inside the shelters and perhaps fewer inside Border Patrol custody as well. We don't always get those numbers in real time like we can get with the border crossings, and they're so fluid as people get released, by the minute. But in this case, it doesn't seem that they are as concerned about that overcrowding. And in fact, while some people might still be released with notices to appear, most of them at this point, I understand, could still be on those tracking methods, alternatives to detention.
And Julia, it's not just border cities feeling strain. We know some sanctuary cities in the north, like New York, Washington, Chicago. They're being impacted. Some have been blasting the federal government. Real quickly, what's happening in those places right now?
I do think that's where the story turns this week, Joe, because that surge that we talked about that happened in the days before Title 42, those people are now moving on. A lot of them may have family. They may hear of job opportunities that they can get. They may think, oh, we're going to be better taken care of in cities like New York, Chicago, L.A. That's what some of the migrants I was talking to last week said. They just wanted to get out of El Paso, out of these overcrowded shelters and into cities where they might have more opportunities. And so cities like that, particularly in New York, we're hearing a lot of criticism of the Biden administration. They want more help from the federal government.
Julia Ainsley, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome back home after your great reporting at the border last week.
Thank you.
Now, Title 42 may have come to an end, but Washington seems to be stalled on how to move forward. Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd sat down with Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy for a closer look at how Democrats are approaching the border and why they may not all be on the same page.
Hello, Joe and Savannah. This week on Meet the Press, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut joined me to discuss his party's divisions over border policy. How can Democrats reach a consensus? Here's what the senator had to say.
And now that the pandemic is over, the president doesn't have discretion to keep Title 42 in place. The president has been actively engaged in trying to manage this crisis. He has negotiated important agreements with Mexico so that Mexico takes more of these migrants. He has surged thousands of troops and asylum officials and Border Patrol to the border to handle this emergency. And he's put in place a really tough new rule that some, frankly, say goes beyond his authority to say to migrants, if you don't apply for asylum before you get to the United States, we're going to turn you right back around.
Look, the Republicans have dirtier hands on immigration. I mean, but the Democrats don't have clean hands on this either.
Well, Republicans have had multiple opportunities to come to the table and pass immigration reform that would fix the problem at the border. And my belief is that while you have a small group of Republicans who legitimately want to engage, the majority of that party delights at chaos at the border. You saw some of my colleagues on Tuesday, as soon as votes were done, rush down to the border to take smiling photographs with the Border Patrol, essentially celebrating the fact that there was chaos because they believe that there's political gain to be had. Right. So I think Americans know that it's Republicans, not Democrats, that have been sitting on the outside when it comes to fixing our broken immigration system.
You can see my full interview and a lot more at MeetThePress.com. You can also get more Meet the Press right here on NBC News Now every single weekday at 4 p.m.
Chuck, thank you so much.
Well, over the weekend, heavy rain fell over many parts of the South as a system of severe storms moved across the plains.
Near San Antonio, streets were flooded, leaving some vehicles submerged in water, with passengers still inside. For more, let's get a check on your morning news now weather. NBC meteorologist Michelle Grossman is tracking the storms for us. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning to you both. So happy to see both of you. And we are still tracking heavy rain. That's going to happen over the next few days. We have a nearly stationary cold front that's kind of hanging over the area. And that's where we're going to see the trigger for more rain. So this is what radar looks like right now. You kind of see that where that front is located brings some heavy rain in some spots. That's where you see those brighter colors, even some lightning. But it's really southern Texas where we've been seeing the rain falling. It's going to continue to fall even an inch or two on top of the rain that is falling. So where you see Brownsville, Texas, southern Texas, that's a bullseye right now for that heavy rain. Really bright colors. That's indicating that heavy torrential rainfall is falling. So in terms of the totals, we're expecting anywhere from 3 to 4 inches of rain, and we've received a lot of rain over the last few days. So the ground is saturated. And notice all these darker colors too. So it's not just Texas, it's along the Gulf Coast, it's into the Tennessee Valley, even just creeping into the Ohio Valley. That's where we're seeing the chance for some heavy rain over the next few days. That is through Wednesday. This could cause some flooding. It could also cause some flash flooding. Where you see these darker blue colors, that's where we're expecting the highest amounts or the expectation for some flash flooding. With the numerous storms in place over the next few days with that boundary layer just sort of draped over that area. Also the saturated soil, that's why we're concerned for the chance for flash flooding. Now, this is a setup. I mentioned that cold front that's sort of draped over the area. It's going to stay in place from portions of the southern plains all the way to the southeast. So today, once again, Texas seeing a flood risk continue with another 1 to 2 inches. Scattered storms stretching into the Carolinas. Notice what happens tomorrow. It doesn't move very much. As we go throughout Tuesday, it's creeping a little bit to the east. It's creeping a little bit to the south. But we're still going to see storms along this front. So afternoon storms firing up across the southeast. And then we're going to increase the risk for severe weather. Today, thankfully, we're getting a little bit of a break from that severe weather. It was rough over the weekend. We get that break today, kind of increases a bit more tomorrow. And then by Wednesday, still looking at pop-up storms during the afternoon. Heaviest rain targeting Georgia and also the Carolinas. In terms of the severe weather threat, notice it's a small area. We're not expecting widespread storms as we go throughout the afternoon. Notice the tornado threat is very low. That is good news. And winds will be gusting up to 60 miles per hour. That's probably the biggest takeaway here, damaging winds, and also the chance for some hail. Tomorrow, that risk increases. You notice the yellow. That's where the likeliest spot for severe storms are. So Knoxville to Hazard. By tomorrow afternoon into the evening, we get that daytime heating going. That's going to increase the chance for those storms. This is what it looks like for today. It's busy. We're looking at a heat wave out west. Temperatures 10, even 30 degrees above normal for this time of year. And that's really early in the season. Really nice in the Northeast. Enjoy that, and stormy many other places.
We're enjoying the seasonal and sunny here.
It's so nice, isn't it?
Nice. Not to brag, but.
And also not to brag, but we had perfect weather in Philadelphia Friday night at Taylor Swift because we both went. It was so fun.
And I now, at my advanced age, want to be a backup dancer for Taylor Swift.
I was like, oh, dramatic.
This is where the dream starts, Michelle. This is where the dream starts.
It's not just like life-changing.
It was amazing.
I know.
Thank you, Michelle.
Great to see you.
You too.
All right, another big story, the latest on the standoff over the debt ceiling in Washington. President Biden and top congressional leaders are expected to meet again on Tuesday at the White House. That's according to multiple sources.
The tentatively scheduled meeting comes before the president heads overseas to the G7 summit. Well, the U.S. is looking to avoid a potentially crippling default that could happen as early as June 1st. Now, since 1960, the debt ceiling has been raised dozens of times by both Democratic and Republican presidents. For the latest here, lucky us, look at this. We are joined by not one, but two Allies, NBC News correspondent Ali Vitale, NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. Good morning to the both of you. Great to have you with us. Ali Rafa, we're going to have to do that each time. Last name, first name, last name, full name. Let's begin with you, Ali Rafa. We understand talks took place over the weekend between the White House and congressional staff. So where does that stand, and what's President Biden saying about it at this point?
Yeah, this is a long time in the making. Ali and I have long talked about the day we do an Ali and Ali hit side by side. Savannah, we know that those meetings continued over the weekend between White House and Capitol Hill staffers. They happened on a Saturday. On Sunday, they are expected to continue today before this expected reconvening between the president and those big four congressional leaders tomorrow. And the sources involved and familiar with these talks tell us that they're productive. They're going in the right direction. One of them going on for more than 2 hours this weekend. And the president, while on a bike ride in Rehoboth Beach yesterday, was actually asked about how the status of negotiations are going so far. Listen to a bit of what he had to say.
I remain optimistic because I'm a congenital optimist. But I really think there's a desire on their part as well as ours to reach agreement. I think we'll be able to do it.
So all good signs so far, but this week is really where we're going to see whether that streak of luck holds, because as you mentioned at the top there, Savannah, the president is expected to leave overseas to Asia for this G7 summit on Wednesday. Remember, there was some talk about whether that would be postponed or affected in any way. All signs right now are that this is a go to depart on Wednesday, but he's going to be gone for so long that when he comes back, you can see there's just a few days left before that earliest default deadline estimate of June 1st that's set by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. So this really could come down to the wire, Savannah.
Let's bring in Ali V. That's what I'm going to call you. We know there's been a lot of talk of President Biden using the 14th Amendment to pay the country's bills. Explain that one to us. How would it work? And how is that possibility even going down on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, look, it could be tough, and it's as tough as it was for Ali and I and the rest of our team on Capitol Hill when we were literally there together. So I'm glad we've got the naming down. But I think in terms of the 14th Amendment, look, what I keep hearing from lawmakers on Capitol Hill, it depends on which side you're on, because it's not just saying this has never been tried before. It truly hasn't. The fact that we have never, as a nation, defaulted on our debt means that a president has never been put in the position to exercise the 14th Amendment in this way, thusly making it so that America can pay its bills. So there could be legal challenges. This could further mire things in confusion, confuse the markets, send them into a free fall. And then, of course, you have senators, even on the Democratic side, making not a legal argument, but really an ethics argument for what a precedent like this could set. Here's Senator Chris Murphy, for example.
You know, I don't want to give Joe Biden advice, but I think we should do our job. I think that's a precedent to just absolve Congress from being adults. If we want to get serious about deficit reduction, then you have to put tax increases for billionaires and corporations on the table. That's why I'm pretty skeptical that there's going to be an agreement in the next 2 weeks.
That skepticism is not without any of the evidence behind it. We know these talks have been pretty slow moving. One of the words that my sources used at the end of last week was that there's been notional progress, and it's why the focus has been on those negotiations and those meetings and less on the 14th Amendment, at least right now.
Allie V, thank you for the explanation. Allie R, the White House recently laid out scenarios regarding the debt ceiling and just ultimately the impact this is going to have, how jobs can be impacted. Remind us of what is at stake here, what a default would do to the economy.
Yeah, well, echoing Allie V here, because this has never happened before, there's really no playbook or no example of what would happen if this were to happen, if the U.S. were to default on its debt. So you're seeing a range of predictions of what the potential consequences of that could be. But we do know that it would send just an absolutely devastating ripple effect through the economy. We're talking about the stock market, then possible federal assistance programs could be at risk. Social Security bills could be on hold. There are estimates that more than 8 million jobs could be shattered. You have estimates that loans could be harder to get. Small business owners would then be not willing to make more investments, hire more people. And so this would also have devastating effects on the global economy as well, since the U.S. plays such a large role in the global economy. So definitely a high stakes, critical time to get this done, guys.
All right, Rafa and Vitaly, thank you for the Team Alley coverage this morning. We appreciate it. New trouble for embattled NBA star Ja Morant. The Memphis Grizzlies announced they have suspended Morant following a now-deleted social media post that appeared to show the point guard casually flash a handgun. A representative from Morant did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but this comes just months after he was suspended for 8 games because of a separate social media video involving a gun. Morant took full responsibility for that incident and said he took some time away to get help. For more on this, we are joined by our friend, NBC Sports host and reporter Corey Robinson. Corey, thanks for being here. So first of all, just what do we know about this latest incident, which was a video, I believe, on Instagram Live, right?
Yeah, not much, Joe. I was happy to be here with you. So the live stream was on Devontae Pack, who's an associate of Ja Morant. It was on his Instagram live stream. And, Joe, they had 111 viewers at the time. Apparently, Ja Morant was shown on camera briefly, and I'm talking less than a second briefly, with what appeared to be a handgun. And then moments later, as you know, within 24 hours, the Grizzlies suspended him all team activities. The season's already over, Joe. But going into next year, his huge contract, 5 years, $194 million kicks in. So this is a really big moment for the team.
Right. Yeah, and that's the future we're talking about there, because the Grizzlies done for this year. They were eliminated, of course, by the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. But as we mentioned, a lot at stake here, because this is the second time there was another incident with Ja Morant and a gun just about 2 months ago. For those who don't really follow the NBA, bring us up to speed on how we got to this moment with Ja Morant.
Yeah, so we have to go way back. So the NBA, they used to have an image issue, right? A lot of players were not seen as the eloquent, businessmen as they are now. There was gun and drug violence all throughout the NBA. David Stern came in and really changed that dramatically. So that's what's at stake. That's kind of what's underlying all of this. So anytime any NBA player goes back to the old NBA of drugs and violence and gun, any type of that, there's always a gut reaction from the NBA's perspective. So with Ja Morant, this is the third time in the past, since 2023 started, that him and his associates have been under investigation by the league for anything involving firearms, Joe, which is kind of shocking. One resulted actually in an entire ban for a year for his friend Devontae Pack. He can't even go to the Memphis Grizzlies home games. So this is a moment where, okay, nothing has necessarily transpired. There's no crime to be charged. They are in a civil lawsuit. It's separate with regarding a different incident with guns. But nothing's criminal. It's just the image issue of an NBA superstar bringing in guns in and around the arena and around that lifestyle, which obviously Adam Silver called potentially reckless and dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, Morant's viewed as one of the bright stars of the game on the court. Let's talk more about Adam Silver. After his suspension last time, Silver said it was irresponsible, reckless, potentially very dangerous. Do we know yet, is the league responding at all to this latest incident? And talk a little more about what could be next for Morant.
Yes, so this is interesting. There is a precedent. Gilbert Arenas, I don't know if you remember this, Joe, back in 2010. There was issues with him and gun violence bringing in, him and guns. He brought in guns into the locker room, and then he would joked about it and all the firestorm that came around about it. And David Stern said there was going to be a potential severe suspension. Ended up being suspended indefinitely without pay for a year. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Ja Morant, but this is a second offense. First time it seemed it was going to be 2 games, maybe 5 games. They ended up settling on 8-game suspension without pay earlier this year. The season fell apart for the Grizzlies. He did come back and play for the number 2 seed in the playoffs. But now moving forward, I do think Adam Silver does have the precedent saying, hey, second time this happened in the offseason coming into this upcoming season, it's definitely possible he gets suspended for a year.
All right, we'll see what happens. Corey Robinson, thanks so much for joining us this morning, as always. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.